fingerprinting application. Next slide. Now, application of crude oil fingerprinting. Crude oil fingerprinting has found a lot of application in exploration, where we try to look at the source of the source rock, the maturity, the biodegradation, and other things that has to do with the precursor of the oil. Currently, crude oil fingerprinting is being used for production and for development of the reservoir. And in this instance, it's used to assess the type of crude, the quality of the crude. When we talk about the quality of the crude, we're asking what is the API of this crude? Is this crude waxy? What's the quality of this crude? And then we can also use it to dictate why there is compartmentalization and the extent of a reservoir. When we get this reservoir fluid, does it resemble another well? What we get from this well, is it looking like what we're getting from another well? If they look alike, that means that there's an extension in the reservoir. And of course, we can also use it to find out if there is an oil spill. Like this morning, I heard about a community in Ekpe, where there is oil spill. So we can use fingerprint to be able to say, oh, this is the source where this spill is coming from. And even when we have oil theft, mystery spill, fingerprint comes in very, very handy for these purposes. So whether it's for leaking, casing, or cross-flow, fingerprint is a unique technique to use. So today we'll be discussing one of those applications, which is production allocation in the case of commingled fluid. Now, the need for production allocation. Production allocation allows a fluid to be back allocated, because a lot of times companies want to cut down on cost and optimize production. And so because of this, they will tend to mix wells into a single separator, several wells into a single separator, or they might want to produce more than 2 reservoirs through a single tubing string. Or some instances, they might want to use a single pipeline to transport from several fields, maybe like the trunk line, the export lines, found out that several fields are flowing or several companies are using the same terminal or the same facility to flow their fluid. So at the end of the day, the question becomes, what do we do? Because several people are flowing their fluids into the same production line. And of course, it boils down to the bottom line, which is money. I want to know how much my barrel of oil that I'm pushing into this trunk line, how much is it worth? Okay, my oil that is coming from this reservoir, I'm mixing with the one coming from this reservoir. Which of this reservoir is producing more? How can I optimize the reservoir? So these are the questions that production allocation handles, because in real life, commingled fluid is one of the things that the oil and gas has come to leverage on. So production allocation is required for proper management of the reservoir to be able to answer financial and technical questions about a particular well, a particular pipeline. So we find out that we can actually use chemical fingerprinting for allocation of commingled fluid. As you can see in that slide, we have a situation where we have production from 2 zones, 2 different reservoirs, and then by the time these reservoirs, the fingerprints are produced, we have the commingled fluid. So the question becomes, what amount of reservoir A is in this commingled fluid? What amount of reservoir B is in this commingled fluid? Usually, production logging is used when we have multiple pay zones in a given well. But we have come to see that using chemical fingerprints, we cut down on costs. The cost is reduced drastically. As a matter of fact, it's said in literature that we have about 95% cost reduction by using chemical fingerprints. And in a situation where we have deviated or horizontal wells, where these tools cannot easily access, rather that fingerprinting becomes very, very handy to use, and then we don't have risky issues of sticking of a logging tool. Then when we come to the surface, where we have multiple fields producing into a production stream, we find out that we can actually use this fingerprinting to be able to back allocate production. Even when we have flow meters, we find out that this can be, the fingerprint can serve as a elementary information base for the production engineer. And then in instances or in places where flow meters cannot be used, chemical fingerprinting can quickly be used for estimating this production. So we're going to be considering a case study which was carried out in the laboratory. The aim of this study was to demonstrate how whole oil fingerprint is applied to solve production allocation problem. We had a commingled well, MEG 1, and in this commingled well, we had two reservoirs, Reservoir A and Reservoir B. And this was in one of the Niger Delta fields. So we are asked to determine if the commingled fluid that we have is actually a percentage contribution from these end members. The end members are the individual reservoirs or the individual streams that are not commingled together. That's what it's called, end members. So we wanted to find out what is the percentage contribution, and then to determine if the commingled oil in well MEG 1 is coming from either reservoir A or reservoir B, or is a mixture of both. Because sometimes there could be a scenario whereby the commingled fluid, or what we think is a commingled fluid, is actually being produced by one reservoir. So this was what we set out to do. Then we employed the following methodology to be able to carry out this work. We went to field sampling. When we came back from field sampling, we had to prepare the samples, and then we did GC/FID analysis because we're discussing whole oil fingerprints this evening. Thereafter, we did the quantification and data analysis for the fluids. So to carry out this sampling work, we had to use a high-pressure piston bottle, ProSap oil sample bottles. We also had to use our ultra-modern oil and gas sampling kits to carry out this sampling, and duplicate samples of oil from MEG 1 well, reservoir A and reservoir B was collected. When we got to the field, we collected the commingled fluid first, then the zone B was blocked off, and then they flowed fluid from reservoir A. We collected it in a ProSap bottle, and then reservoir A was now isolated, and we collected fluid from reservoir B. So the samples were received in our laboratory for analysis. Now, when the samples came to the laboratory, we had to do sample preparation and restoration. What's the essence of this? Now, when samples leave the field and come to the laboratory, there's a change in conditions, both pressure and temperature conditions. And we know that these conditions are what governs the phase behavior of fluids. So by the time we get back to the lab at a lower pressure and at a lower temperature, we expect that there will be a change in the fluid that we collected. Either there is solid deposition taking place or gas coming out of the oil. So we have to take time to do a sample restoration. And of course, before we do this sample restoration, we have to check for presence of water. So we have to drain if there is water. If there's no water, we do our restoration. This restoration, as you can see in the diagram, you can see the heating tape tied on the ProSap bottle to heat up the sample. And then from time to time, we have the pump there by the side, by the left-hand side, that is supposed to help in maintaining pressure. So from time to time, this sample bottle was agitated to ensure complete homogenization. Now, after this sample was homogenized, we had to do a flash separation of the fluid inside, the single-phase fluid. We had to do a flash separation so we can do an analysis on the stock tank oil collected from this flash process. Then whatever that remained was quickly put in the refrigerator to avoid the light ends being lost through evaporation. Thereafter, we did a GC analysis using our state-of-the-art Agilent 17890 gas chromatograph. So we had two sets of samples, as a matter of fact. The samples that were collected from the field made up of reservoir A, reservoir B, and the commingled samples. These samples were flashed and put in stock tank oil bottles ready for analysis. We also had to compose another set of samples, which we called a laboratory sample mix. These were samples that were obtained by carrying out a mix of reservoir A and reservoir B. So we had percentages of 30 to 70, 40 to 60, 50 to 50, 70 to 30, just in that range. We use this to be able to prepare a plot which will now enable us to be able to bring the commingled fluid and put the components inside of this plot to determine the amount of reservoir A and reservoir B in the commingled fluid. So for the GC analysis, of course, we had a method which I will not bore us with. About 0.5 mils of these samples were collected from the sample bottles, the vials, using an automatic sampler and then injected into the GC for analysis. And the runtime was about 90 minutes. Remember, I told us that the GC can be used for production allocation and that it saves a lot of time. So the time for our GC run is about 90 minutes. Now, when we're done with analyzing these samples, we did 3 runs. When we're done with analyzing these samples, we brought the chromatogram from, we did a comparison of the fingerprint with standard hydrocarbon mix. Prior to analysis on the GC, we had to do a calibration using a standard hydrocarbon mix. When we finished, we did peak identification. Now, this peak identification was premised on the chemical differences that are observed in the gasoline range. And someone might wonder why gasoline range. Now, the gasoline range is a range that is unstable. It's a range that gives a lot of differences. We can easily pick differences from the chromatogram, quite unlike the heavy ends. So we looked at this range, which, of course, when there is mixing, typical of what happens during commingling, we can visibly see a difference in the reservoir A and reservoir B, and then in the commingle. So we have to use that and identify chemical differences. After we have identified the chemical differences, we did an isolation of the peak ratios that we are going to use to generate what we call a diagnostic ratio. We did all this on an Excel spreadsheet. So our results was both visual. Visual, we looked at the trend of the chromatogram, we looked at the concentration of the various components and compared them, reservoir A, reservoir B, and the commingled. Thereafter, we generated diagnostic ratios. These diagnostic ratios are those peak ratios that were selected from the gasoline range. We selected them based on their chemical differences, and we used them to generate a plot, which I'm going to show us subsequently. So this is a chromatogram that shows the output from the GC for reservoir A, the first one, reservoir B, the second one, and the commingled. Visually examining this, we can see that the fluid from reservoir A and reservoir B are alike. They look similar. Of course, they are from the same field, so we should expect such similarity. They also look like the commingled fluid. So we did a visual examination based on the retention time, which also gave us the chemical differences. Next, we took a snapshot of we expanded the gasoline range to pick differences. So if you look at this window here, this window just represents just 4 of those differences that we took. So if you look closely, you see that the retention time in reservoir A was matched with the retention time in reservoir B, and the peak, we are seeing 2 peaks that represent peak 1 ratio. You can see that there's a difference between these two. While the first one, reservoir A, is slanted in a positive direction, reservoir B, peak 1, is slanted in a negative direction. So we have to look out for those dissimilarities between these two reservoir fluids. So we can now use them to be able to create diagnostic peak ratios that will help us to make a difference between these two reservoirs, and then to now aid us in getting the allocation that is coming from the reservoir, that is coming from the commingled fluid. So next, our artificial mixes that I told us about, what we actually have there is percentage of A and percentage of zone B. So on the extreme left, we have reservoir A, moving from 0 to 100. While on the extreme right, we have reservoir B, moving from 100 to 0%. So the peak ratios are what we have on the y-axis, while on the x-axis, we have the percentage of A and B. Sorry, there's a typo there. So those artificial mixes that we did in the lab, this is what we used to plot. This graphical representation is what was gotten from those artificial mixes. So when we now do this, we now pick that commingled fluid, which we're going to see in the next slide. That's the commingled stream. We pick the commingled stream, and then we find out where it falls on the x-axis. A close look at that will give you about 38%. So since we're moving, we have zone A, 0 at the, from the left axis, moving towards 100. At that point, we have about 38 contribution of zone A in this commingled fluid, invariably making the other 62% to be zone fluid from zone B. So we have to put in place some quality assurance and quality checks to be able to make sure that what we generate in the course of this study was a dependable and accurate data. We carried out calibration of the instruments before using it. And then when we finished our flash process in the laboratory, we put those samples, when we are not ready for analysis, we put them in the refrigerator to avoid loss of the light ends. The instrument that we used for the analysis, which is the GC, was conditioned for about 2 hours to allow for signal equilibration. And then before carrying out the analysis, we did a blank run to make sure that there's conditioning of the GC equipment. So fingerprints of the analyzed samples were compared with the standard hydrocarbon mix, and that's the essence of having a retention time and using a retention time. When you have the calibration standard that is analyzed first, and then you now analyze the end members, you'll be able to say, okay, this is the retention time for this particular component. So these are the things that were done in the laboratory to be able to assure the quality of data outputted. So in conclusion, fingerprints, being a descriptive and investigative tool, can be used to commingle tubing string production to the contributing reservoirs. And in the work that we have done, we have been able to look at the chromatographic distribution pattern. Using the selected ratios, we've been able to see that the commingled fluid is actually made up of 38% of reservoir A, 62% of reservoir B. So that means that reservoir A is contributing 38% of the commingled fluid. Thank you very much for listening. Questions, please.
Are you usually a woman to say thank you?
Yes, I'm a woman, Prof.
Dr. Bella. Dr. Bella, we thank you for your incisive presentation, and you've done us proud. We thank you for the presentation. That based on your presentation, we can see that everyone understands. Hopefully, everyone I guess understand what you've done. But I'll do just a recap on what you've presented so far. You've told us what oil fingerprinting is, and then you said that this is actually based on the premise that every crude oil has a unique signature, and that we've seen that based on the signatures you presented for the two crude oils from the reservoir A and reservoir B. You've also told us the applications of oil fingerprinting. You told us it's used to identify the source of crude oil, which is the source rock itself. You've told us it's also used to carry out production allocation for pipelines and then productions from well. What you've done. You've also told us it's also used to identify crude oil quality. It's used to identify the source of oil spill. It's also used for reservoir management with respect to compartmentalization of reservoirs, all that we've seen. And then you've told us about the need for production allocation. Like I earlier on said, normally we do this for back allocation of commingled oil. It can be commingled oil in the production well, or it can be commingled oil in pipelines. Commingled oil in pipeline in wells is actually due to multiple poisons, production from multiple poisons that are commingled, or it may be commingled oil from pipelines, that is production from multiple fields being channeled into one single pipeline, and then back allocation based on oil fingerprinting will determine the percent contribution from the fields for pipeline, and then the percent contribution for each particular pay zone in terms of production from a well. You've also told us that oil fingerprinting is cost effective, and that's the truth. It's cost effective compared to production logging. One thing you've not said is oil fingerprinting, like we all know, has its advantages. It's simple to apply, it's cost effective, that is, it's inexpensive, and then it has a short turnaround time compared to using or adapting production logging tool for back allocation of commingled production. I also want to say that in cases depending on the well configuration, your oil fingerprinting technology that you've applied based on your presentation can also be better off. This is just an inclusion of my own comments to your presentation. And then you successfully presented a case study for commingled production from two reservoirs, which you named Reservoir A and Reservoir B. And you showed us the process for the collection of the samples. You also showed how artificial mix of the oils from the two different reservoirs were done. This is done actually for verification of the back allocation process. You've actually also determined production allocation based on the production from the two reservoirs you've presented, and you gave us the values that you obtained 38% and 62% contribution from each of those particular reservoirs. You've also spoke about how you carried out quality assurance and quality control based on the entire process, the procedure for the back allocation, and also the sampling process, and also Q and QC on the equipment. This is actually very vital for us to beat our chest and say that what you've obtained, the percentage contribution is actually repeatable, and actually that's the truth. Because if this process cannot be repeated to get exactly the same value, that means it's a faulty one. So thank you for telling us about how you carried out this. And then thank you for your presentation. Like I said at the beginning, your presentation was easy to follow. I understand it. And thank you. You've done justice to this. So thank you very much, Dr. Bella Martin, for your presentation. And currently the floor is open for question and answer. Questions should be typed, Q for question, C for comment. And so we'll be waiting on the members in the audience here for their own question. Dr. Bella, I think I will start with myself before the audience. When you spoke about peak ratio, we know that we have peak ratio and we have peak height. And based on the graphs you presented, you can see that peak ratio actually is not linear. We can say that it's fairly linear, but that peak ratio can also be non-linear. So for the regression analysis, the multivariate regression analysis you did, is it based on peak ratio with the assumption that it's linear, or you use the non-linear regression analysis? That's my own question. Please take your time. I expect the members in the audience to also ask their question with the prefix of Q followed by the question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Yes, in the course of this experiment, we had to use peak ratios. That's what we used for this computation. We made use of peak ratios, and that's why if you get down to the slides, you find out that that should be slide 18. The components are actually displayed. Okay, you need to give me access to show the slide. Slide 18. Okay, so from that 17 and 18, we did CC5 and NC6. Those are the two ratios that was used there. And if you look on the legend, on the right-hand side, you can see that different ratios were used for this graphical representation of the artificial matrices.
Okay, thank you for your clarification. Any other question?
The linear relationship, God. Are you seeing the questions on your
No, I'm not seeing.
Why can't you see?
I don't know it's not controlling. Any other question? Hello?
Yeah,
hello.
More questions from the audience.
Hello, Prof. Rodu is in your chat box. Maybe you just want to take it from the chat box, please.
Okay, let me see. Okay, Dr. Bella, there's a question here. I'll read it. Is there a limit to the number of commingled reservoirs that can be accurately identified from the mixture of hydrocarbon fluids with the fingerprinting technique?
No.
Okay.
I take and do my report. Now my report.
Thank you for this question.
I just print. Say, Julius, they do.
Please, can you mute?
Simeon, can you mute everybody so that then the presenter can come or mute again?
Okay, sir. Done that.
Right.
Okay, if we have more than 3 reservoirs or more than 3 pipelines flowing into a particular stream, we can actually use a different method. It's called PCA. We can use it to be able to back allocate. So this fingerprint can be applied as long as we can use other statistical means. We can actually back allocate, still using fingerprint analysis. So the more complex it is, the more we use statistical tools like PCA in doing our calculation. So there is no limit, as a matter of fact.
Okay, in PCA, you mean principal component analysis, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
The
next question 2. Are there other techniques that can be used with fingerprinting to improve accuracy as it is foolproof as a standalone?
Other techniques besides or in addition?
Yeah, in addition, to improve the accuracy.
It's just to make sure that in the course of our analysis that we ensure we put in all of the QA/QCs. I can't think of any other technique that can be added on for now to GC fingerprinting. So for now, except you talk about the employment of a software, okay, that can be done to improve the process.
Okay, I would like to add to this. We also have what we call production login. Okay, so production login will also give us, we can also use that for back allocation. And so oil fingerprinting can be an add-on to that. But like I said during my wrap-up, there are cases whereby back production login will not be favorable depending on the well configuration. But there are other methods that can be applied also for this. Yeah. But one thing you also presented, and I would like the person who asked this question to know, that you actually carried out verification based on using artificial mix of production from the two particular reservoirs. Because once you carry out an artificial mix, you know the percentage allocation from each of those reservoirs based on the artificial mix. And you already have results to verify that before you carried on the process of identifying the allocation from the production stream. Is that right, Dr. Bella?
Yes, sir, you are correct.
Yes. Any more question, please?
Can I didn't put my own on the chat box. Can I comment? My name is Professor Nyakong.
Prof, sir,
Go ahead, sir.
You're welcome. Your question, sir. You can say your question right away, sir.
Okay, what I'm trying to say is that I know that as the number of fluids increases, the complexity will be such that mathematics may not be able to handle it.
Yes.
That one is obvious, you know. Now, the question of production logging is the production logging targets the fluid where it is coming from.
Yes.
You know, that's what it targets, where it is coming from. But once the commingle is a little difficult for production logging to actually discern which fluid is which. So it's going to be fingerprinting that will help us unless somebody looks at other methods. Yeah. Now, once he was presenting, I got excited about the mixing. You know, it tells us that those of us who are reservoir engineers, we still have a lot to do. I was wondering whether we cannot do a simulation. You know, once you do a simulation so that the matching of the mix becomes automatic. We have not done it in laser here before, but that is an insight. You know, once they start the mixing, you get it, and then once you have the signals, you do something like a history match to use your mathematically modeled result to fix it exactly rather than drawing lines. That's the kind of thing that's coming out of my head. Thank you so much. It's not a question, it's just to throw a challenge to students who are listening or to people who are who have a research mind, so that we can go and still look at this and make a better use of results from the mixing the components.
Yeah, Prof, you're right, sir. By so doing, multiple equations will be obtained and solved simultaneously to optimize it. You're right, sir. It's a doable one. I think we have students in our midst listening to the presentation. So a master student, that may be a topic for someone to follow and supervise. Yeah. We are waiting for questions from the audience.
There are questions there, in fact.
Okay, let me see. Okay, another question is this: how can fingerprints be adopted to optimize operations for a successful implementation? Dr. Bella?
I don't think I understand the question.
How can fingerprints be adopted to optimize operations for a successful implementation?
Okay, perhaps we'll talk about the various applications of fingerprints, and because you can use it either during exploration or production and development. So whichever way it can be used for these various periods. During exploration, you want to find out, I found oil here. Where else can I find oil? So you can use it to optimize the process of searching for oil. And then, of course, during production, You can also use it, whichever case, either in finding out if there is a leaking casing or there is fault. So whatever way you're looking at it is all about optimization and saving costs.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any more questions here for Dr. Bella?
Prof, there's another question there. Maybe I can take it.
Please take it here.
Okay, this one says that how can fingerprints be adopted to optimize operations for a success? Okay, that's the one we took now.
So, yeah, that's the one we took. Yes.
Okay, sorry. This one is, why is fingerprinting not used in international markets to identify stolen oil and hence penalize the corporate as well as compensate the owner of the stolen oil?
Dr. Bella, over to you.
I think it's widely used.
It is.
It's in use. It's just that in Nigeria, I mean, the usage is limited, but out there in other clients, they make use of it. And we're even looking at there's a project we're even thinking of, or we're about doing, where we'll have, a database of all the crudes that are produced in the Niger Delta, so that when there is a spill anyway, it will be very, very easy to identify the source.
Thank you.
Let me add what I know about this. There was a time that was just rumor that Chinese stole Nigerian oil. And hell wanted to, is it hell losing hell or whatever? But with the fingerprint, we found out that some people knew very well that no, they didn't steal the oil from Nigeria. So in the international market, they use it. If you accuse somebody that stole your oil, you have to get the fingerprint of your oil, and they should be able to ascertain whether you actually stole.
Thank you, Prof. Dr. Bella, I have one more question for you. In the Niger Delta, we know in some cases we have high GOR fields, okay? As the field matures, the GOR tends to go higher. How can you combine this, the gas and the oil together for fingerprinting? Okay,
fortunately, when it comes to fingerprinting, we use the stock tank oil. So no matter the changes that are taking place in the reservoir, once the oil is gotten, we still will have to remove the gases, the solution gases, so that we can have the stock tank oil. That's what we use for fingerprints. So irrespective of the GOR of the fluid, when we bring it to the lab, we will still remove the solution gas to get the pseudo oil and use for the analysis.
Well, what if it's a purely gas reservoir?
It's a purely gas reservoir. Yeah. We can still do commingle. We can still do production allocation using gas reserve. We can do on gases, in which case the components we are using is different from the components in the oil. We use other components that like the carbon CO2, the methane, and other components in doing our back allocation. And then we also do carbon isotopes for gas reservoirs. So we can also apply fingerprints for gas back allocation.
Thank you very much. Any more questions from the audience?
There is a question, Prof.
There is a question, I'll read it. What is or are, if any, the limitation factor associated with COF, or is it 100% efficient?
All right, thank you for that question. I wouldn't say that it's 100%, it has its limitation. We actually had a case like that in the laboratory when a client called us. They wanted to do production allocation, but they said to us, we have the commingle fluid, and we have one of the reservoirs. Is it possible to help us to do a back allocation? That's a limitation. We can't do back allocation if we don't have the end members. If we have only one end member and a commingle fluid, we can't do back allocation. It's a limitation. So we must have the end members and the commingle fluid. Then the second limitation that we can see from this method is that if proper sampling protocols are not put in place and we get a fluid that is not representative of the reservoir, then of course we have missed out on what we do in terms of production allocation. So these are basically the limitations on this process.
Thank you, Dr. Bella. Any more questions here? Any more questions from the audience? In the absence of any more questions, Dr. Bella, we thank you for your presentation. The way and manner you answered and responded to all the questions asked, it's quite clear that you know what you've said, you know what you've done, and then you're on top of your game in this respect to all fingerprinting. So thank you very much. Chair, section chair, and I hand over to you. Thank you for the opportunity for being part of this.
Thank you so much, Prof. But first of all, I would just like to thank especially Lisa Engineering for sponsoring this. Thank you so much, Professor Mike Onyekon, for this opportunity you've given us in SPE Section 103, as you have always been doing. Thank you so much. We cannot thank you enough. Thank you very well, Dr. Bella Mata. We appreciate your presentation. I wrote it down, the Shari Saint. It's so precise and thank you. And of go faster than 30 minutes. And then it's clear we have a lot of questions answered. So thank you very much. In fact, we have a lot of time today to play with. Thank you, we really appreciate it. And of course, to our Professor Oyike Prayer, Professor Orodu, we really appreciate. At short notice, you still, I was a bit skeptical because we didn't contact you on time, but you were here, in fact, before most of us. So thank you for coming early. I would like to normally, if it's a physical event, we are supposed to give to celebrate you. Normally we celebrate the moderator and the presenter. But in the absence of that, I would like to call one of our directors to just say thank you again to you. So Sir Godfrey, and you want, please, if you are there, we will appreciate that. Just say thank you to the moderator and the presenter. Sir Godfrey, sir. Sir Godfrey, are you there? Okay, so in the absence of Sir Godfrey, I will call on Engineer Isaac Nwakwa, one of our directors also. Engineer Isaac Nwakwa, please. If you are there, we just wanted to say thank you to our presenter and the moderator. We know sometimes maybe they have a network each or something. Because since it's also Professor Mike is there, we have Professor Rodu and Professor Dr. Bella. I think Dr. Bella, you should also be bearing professor very soon because I'm just calling you professor instead of doctor. Okay. So in the absence, I'm just trying to check for our directors. I think they are there, but I don't know what happened. But so I'll just round up. So thank you very much. We really appreciate. Normally, there's something we give to our moderator and to our presenter. I think the secretariat is going to send it over. So thank you. We really appreciate. Okay. Alhaji Othman, please. I don't know you were there. So Alhaji Othman, please just help us say thank you to them, please.
Okay. Good evening,
from
all.
The sponsor also to.
Yeah. Good evening, all. I think you have said it all. So on behalf of the other section directors that we are there, I'd like to especially thank the presenter for a very wonderful presentation. It's timely, and the moderator, he has really expanded and summarized very well. We appreciate you. Thank you. The event would not have been possible without the sponsorship of our very senior director, Professor Onikoye. We really appreciate you, sir. He's always coming to our aid in person, in kind, and in sponsorship. We appreciate you, sir. And I'd like to thank all of us that made it possible. Without us being listening, there wouldn't be without the audience, the presentation is not complete. So we appreciate everyone, student, senior members, young professionals, all of us that participated. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We really appreciate it. We'll now go back to the sections program. Over to your programs chair.
Thank you very much, SE. Thank you, Prof. And thank you, Dr. Bella. We are indeed very grateful for this wonderful presentation and moderation. So the next we have on our agenda is question and answer, question of the day. May I call on the publicity chair, Ms. Chinwe, to handle that.
Okay, good evening, everyone. And once again, I joined to say a big thank you for the presentation today. Thank you indeed. We normally have the question of the day at these sessions, part of keeping our members active, part of keeping them also alert and informed of what is going on in the industry. So we coined it to know your industry this last board year, so that it's not just about the usual drilling completions that we know, because the world is also evolving. We're hearing of the energy transformations that are going on, the new energies, and also to link that all in, we now have what we call the Know Your Industry, similar to question of the day. And we throw that out every month for all our members to be a part of. You have to be a member because we need your number to be sure that you're one of us. And the questions are all random, varying from different spheres of the oil and gas or the energy sector as we have it today. It could be from drilling, production, operations, up to legal, HSC. So as you see the mix, we try to do that. So this month, we are happy to present the 3 winners, and to get in the winning pool, which we have criteria for these 4 questions, you must at least get 3 correct completely. Then we go from there, but minimum is the 3, and if you get all, you are on our top list. So these 3 people did excellent. They got the 3, at least 3 of them 100% correct. So I want to thank Mr. DC from Weatherford. We have Mr. John from Air Yoke Nigeria Limited, as you can see there. And we have one of our lucky students as well, because it's open to both the students, YPs, senior members, everybody. So our student from Nnamdi Azikiwe, Mr. Nwize Chinedu. Also, we will be sending them the certificate of participation, which goes with this winning, as well as we provide them with data to be able to join in today. So want to thank them especially for being here this evening. I know I've seen Mr. DC and John as well. Welcome, and we want to have more participation from others as we all key in to learn more from this industry, great industry and world of ours that we're in. Thank you very much, and congratulations to the 3 lucky winners for this month. We will prepare for next month, so everybody is urged to join in. Try your best. You'll be surprised how much you know actually if you just try. So wish everybody luck for the next month, but congratulations, a big one to the 3 lucky winners we have for this month of March, as you see there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chinwe, and congratulations to the lucky winners. So the next we are having on our agenda is about us, about SPE, about Section 103, and this will be handled by a member of the membership team, Arthur Obi.
Good evening, all.
Arthur Obi, please, please handle that for us.
Good evening, all. Arthur Obi, a member of SPE Section 103, membership team. And on behalf of the team and our chairperson, Madam Shoma, I'll be presenting the membership talk for today monthly technical meeting. So what is SPE? SPE means Society of Petroleum Engineers, where industrial professionals do come together for career advancement and career growth. So it will be pleasing for us to know that SPE is a non-for-profit professional association, and members are engaged in energy resources development and production. SPE also serves more than 104,000 members in 123 countries worldwide with key resource for technical knowledge. Also, SPE provides services through its publication, events, training, and courses. We can at any time visit www.spe.org for more information. So what is the mission of this great organization? Our mission is to collect, disseminate, and exchange technical knowledge concerning the exploration, development, and production of oil and gas resources and related technology for the public benefit, and also to provide opportunities for professionals to enhance their technical and professional competence. As you can see from the charts there, we are global already. We have over 124,000 members in about 5 countries with 197 sections and 316 students. So let's take it down to our great SPE Port Harcourt section. It will enlighten us to know that SPE Port Harcourt section is the second largest in Nigeria, covering 6 states and 12 student chapters. Presently, we have over 1,206 professional members and 1,701 student members. And these numbers always increase every day because of the great value SPE offers to its members. So in our award chest, we have the SPE section award for excellence. We have also the best YP awards for 3 years, and all regional technical discipline awards held by our members. We also have a standing young member award held by one of our members, and 6 SPENC 2019 Way awards received by our members, and a whole lot of student chapter awards. So what are the benefits of joining this wonderful non-profit organization? If you join SPE, you have access for professional development. You'll be opportune to join our professional trainings, which some of them are certified program. You also have the privilege to volunteer and network with a whole lot of industrial professionals. And while networking, you meet them in events and all that. We have a whole lot of other benefits. The Journal of Petroleum Technology, which is always sent to our members, the One Petrol, our SPE library, where you can have a whole lot of resources from the Petrol Wiki, the bookstore discounts, the podcast, and SPE regular webinars. So we also recognize members that have volunteered and are actively involved in the activities of this section. So who can be an SPE member? A student, a graduate, a young professional, and a professional of the industry can be a member of this wonderful organization. So how can you be a member? You simply click the link on the chat box that will lead you to fill your basic details. Then we from the membership team will follow you up and make sure that your registration is smooth and successful. So have a whole lot of benefit, as I mentioned earlier. When you join SPE, you have stronger industrial connections with industrial leaders, peers, and mentors. You always join our technical events, and you always have enhanced industrial knowledge and so much more. If you are here and you've not yet joined SPE, you are missing a lot. So there are 4 easy ways how you can join SPE and come on board today immediately after this event. First is to click the link already on the chat box, and after clicking the link, you can easily fill out a membership form who will be sent to you by the section or any of the members in the membership team. Then you pay the registration fee for the categories of registration you want to register. We have the e-membership. For new registration, it's 18,000. Then for renewals, it's 14,000. We have the professional membership, 29,000 for new registration and 25,000 for renewals. So you can easily pay this amount to any of the to our SPE account. And when we receive these accounts, we'll proceed with your registration and duly advise SPE international body to activate your membership. Furthermore, after clicking the link, we will add it to a WhatsApp group where members of the membership team will successfully follow you up and ensure you have very smooth registration. Thank you very much. I remain Arthur Obi, a member of the membership team SPE.
See me on the next slide, please. All right, the next we have on the agenda is board members and upcoming programs. So, Simeon. Yeah.
Just before that, maybe we'll take the photograph, please.
Okay. Are we taking the photograph first?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So, Simeon, are you ready? Simeon, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Okay, so just for everyone, we would like to take a group photograph. Since it is virtual, we try as much as possible to still capture the people from wherever they are. It will take us just 45 seconds. So just help us to put on your video. Just 45 seconds and we are done. We really appreciate it. So we start counting. It's already 3 seconds, moving to 5 seconds. Simeon, I hope you are taking it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's 10 seconds already. 13 seconds. If you are done, you let me know, Simeon. It's already 18 seconds. 20 seconds. 23. 25.
Okay, I'm done.
You're done. Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. If you like to put it on, it's fine. And if you want to remove your face, it's fine. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Okay, over to your programs, Chair.
Thank you very much, I see. All right, let's look at the upcoming events. We have a lineup of events for the remaining part of the month of the board year. So we just want to abreast you with a few of them here. First in the lineup is the 2021 Young Professionals Symposium. The theme of this event is Harnessing Nigerians' Energy Mix, Opportunities for Young Professionals. This event is going to come up on the 17th of April, 2021. So we'll please ask everyone to disseminate this information and also join when the date comes. See me on the next slide. Hello? All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
We also have another event, and it's about career guidance and continuing education. And it's a 3 days training program and symposium, and the theme is equipping yourself to survive in a tech world.
And you can see the dates is going to begin from the 4th, the 6th of April, and will end on the 8th of April. So we're going to have training on freelance work, training on Excel and Power BI. And the symposium is going to be equipping yourself to survive in a tech world, featuring basic finances, networking skills, legal framework, and continuing education. So we ask that you join on this date so that you benefit from this program. We also have another program titled SDG 13 Virtual Town Hall Meeting. And the theme of this program is Defending Tomorrow, the Climate Crisis and Threats Against Land, Water Bodies, and Environment in Post-COVID-19 Era. So it's going to come up on the 7th of May at 12 noon to 2 p.m. So we also encourage you to join this meeting. Next, another program we have is STEM, Annual Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics Fair, STEM Fair, where we engage young students from the universities and secondary schools to showcase their talents. And this event is going to hold, I think we have taken a date on this event on the 17th of May. And we'll feature some raffle draw, quiz, Energy for Me, Train the Trainer program for secondary school teachers as well. So there are a lot of cash prizes to be won. And we encourage many schools to participate. The event is going to start from 12 noon. So the date is not 1st May, but it's going to be 17th May. It has been changed, so take note of that. And another program in the lineup is a virtual conference and exhibition. The team is preparing and responding to global pandemics, lessons learned, and way forward. This is going to hold from 22nd to 23rd of April to 2021. So you're also encouraged to join on these days. Another one is from the young professionals again. And this is all about fundraising 1.5 million naira to support a Divine Benevolent Care Organization and the Egbu Glorious Orphanage Home. So, and they intend to provide them with desktop computers, a bookshelf, renovate their toilets, provide foodstuffs, and provide bed mattresses. And the timeline for donation is from now till the end of March. Already March has ended. So I believe if you have anything, you can still support this initiative so that they can meet their targets to provide these things for the orphanage homes. And all right, thank you. The next is announcements for closing remarks. SC, please kindly handle this.
Okay, thank you so much, Programs Chair Dr. Joe, for this, for anchoring, facilitating this event. I would just like to go back again and just say we thank so much Lisa Engineering for supporting us for this month's technical meeting. We really appreciate, and of course, we'll still come back to you We are your children, so we always come back. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. So I think most of you must have been watching the chat box, a lot of activities in the chat box. So we have Dorcas and we have Kennedy, our members, trying as much as possible to give some data to our students and to our young professionals. We know these are difficult times. We have to ensure also that our students and our young professionals benefit from these virtual events. So from time to time, we try to support them because we know it is not easy to be burning data. We know it's for knowledge, but at the same time, we try as much as possible to support them. So this is the SPE cares that we always talk about. We try to care for our members as much as possible. So thank you, Dorcas, and thank you, Kennedy. For most of our events that they have mentioned, you can actually check them on the social media spaces, SPE Port Harcourt, for LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can type in and most of the programs will be posted there. I just like to thank especially the directors, most of whom are with us here, of Section 103, and also the senior members. We really appreciate, and of course for our executive committee of Section 103 and other professional members, our very good young professionals doing a lot of facilitation for us in most of our programs. And of course, our students from the 12 chapters in Nigeria and also in Cameroon. We really appreciate, we know most of you are here. Thank you very much. We like to recognize the other sections in Nigeria and also abroad that we have seen some of them joining us. Thank you for always being there with us. For the non-members, I've seen our membership team posting on the chat box the link where you can join us and continue to do this good work of volunteerism with us. So you click that link, you drop your message, and of course they are going to contact you. It's not difficult at all to be part of us in the networking, technical networking, and also a lot of our charity events that we do. So partner with us, and then let's try as much as possible also to support our communities, which also SPE is fond of doing. So I said earlier on, so thank you for displaying this. So these are all the social media handles. You can always get us from. In fact, if you type on Google, just type in SPE Port Harcourt, you can always reach us at any time. So thank you very much. We appreciate it. Don't let this discussion end here. The discussion continues on social media. Everyone is still watching the social media. If you still have some questions, some information, anything, you can put it on the social media spaces for us. We are going to get back to you as soon as possible. So thank you. We really appreciate today. And we hope that you register for our upcoming programs. They will already all be on our social media spaces. We appreciate, especially for this COVID-19 pandemic, try as much as possible to keep the pandemic is still out there, and take care, and also take care of your family. We wish you the very best. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Okay. Programs chair, Dr. Joy there? Okay. Simeon?
Yeah.
Okay, so leave it at that page there, just like that. That's good. So we would like a volunteer to give us a prayer, please. A volunteer. We started with prayer. We just like to end with prayer. Any of the religion. Any volunteer, please.
Good evening, everybody.
Yeah, go ahead.
In Jesus' name. In Jesus' name. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
Amen. Father, we thank you, worship you, give you all the glory.
Thank you, Lord, for a time like this. Father, we say, may you be highly exalted. Thank you, Lord, for the Lord. Thank you, Lord, for your protection. Thank you, Lord, for your safety you have been granting us since the beginning of this year. Father, we say that we do not this. Father, we thank you. Thank you, Lord, on behalf of the members of Psalm City, for all you have been doing. Father, we say, may your power, may your spirit continue to guide all of us, O Lord, in Jesus' name. We thank you, Lord, for the meeting of this evening, for the successful knowledge transfer, for the exposure, for the connection, for the growth, for the love, for the support, for all you have been doing. Father, may you be highly exalted in Jesus' name. Lord, as we're about to close, Lord, going back to our different home, Father, we pray. May your power, may your spirit guide us and protect us in Jesus' name. God, in the Lord, glory and adoration with you. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Father. For in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor. We really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye for today. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Simeon, everything is good?
Yes.
Simeon.
I'm with you.
Please, it looks like I might need chats from the beginning. I keep losing it.
Okay.
I don't have any YP number YP that drop number. I said the ones that are contacting me on my WhatsApp. So please.
Change your phone.
It's not my phone. I think it's network.
Madam Dokas, good evening. Madam Dokas,
good evening, sir.
Well done. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, thank you. And you?